Well, hello and good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks for your time today and welcome to our presentation, live webinar, Getting Started, Platform Overview for Investors. So my name is Rod Casilli. I'm the head of product. I've been a trader and investor myself for about 25 years, so I both trade on the platform and invest in it. I also run the product group. You may see on the webinar today that it says Matthew Klein is talking. That's just who set up the webinar, so you're listening to Rod. We have a pretty small group this morning. There's about 8 of us here today, so can probably take questions in context. So if you have a question, you can pop it in the chat or the questions within the GoToWebinar area there. If you're having any issues with the recording or you can't see, you can also just drop me a quick note. I'll see if I can troubleshoot in real time. That may or may not be possible. And the presentation today should only take about 20-25 minutes, so sit back and enjoy learning a little bit about how to use the Collective2 platform. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I wanted to start with this important disclaimer just to remind everyone that access to this webinar and all the presentation this morning is for educational, informational purposes only. Nothing about what I'll say or do, it constitutes a recommendation by Collective2, me, or any of our affiliates to buy or sell any security. Please be aware that trading, especially trading of derivatives like options, futures, and Forex, can be extremely risky. It's not suitable for all investors. And the most important thing is any and all mention of performance statistics, order history, executions, or positions is hypothetical. Hypothetical or simulated performance results have certain limitations. If you have a question about hypothetical results and how we calculate them, because this is a popular question, you can ask it today. I could give you a little bit more color, or you can go to collective2.com and get all the information about how we calculate results. All right. Okay, so with no further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually going to start from the very beginning, folks. So I'm going to run through an entire process where I actually sign up as an investor on Collective2. So let me go ahead and do that at collective2.com, and I'll select a password. You can see there's 2 options here. You don't have to select one, but for today's presentation, make an assumption that you're looking to view the application as an investor. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You'll see that I should be sent a link to verify my email. Let me just real quick refresh my email so I can get that link. This is the verify email link right here. I'll go ahead and verify my email address. Move this out of the way. And I'm now rocking and rolling. So ideally, you've already gone through that process. I'm now going to go ahead and log in using the account that I just created. Uh-oh. Let's make sure I can get it correct. If not, I have a fallback. I thought I called it Webinar 5. We're off to a good start here this morning. There we go. Okay. So let's start with the frame, what we call the frame, or the left navigation, the upper navigation. So at the very top, this is sort of your home base. If you've added an avatar to Collective2, you'll see your little avatar here. If not, you'll just see this circle. And this will get you back to the dashboard. By default, we're actually on the dashboard, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a moment. The next thing is we are a 2-sided marketplace. So we have both investors and we have trade leaders, people that are managing model portfolios. In some instances, that could be the same person. But for today, we're going to focus on the investor experience. So the left navigation changes a little bit depending on which one of these you have selected. So if for some reason you clicked on this and got lost a little bit, just know that you want to view the site as an investor. Moving down, we've put together this thing called a successometer, 5 things that we suggest over the course of your customer journey on Collective2 you may want to consider doing. Let's take a look at what those are. The first is adding strategies to your watch list, which is part of the Discover process, which we'll talk about today. The next is auto trading in a simulated account, which we'll also set up today. And then 3 things we won't get into today, but we highly encourage this when you're ready, is to open a live brokerage account. We'll take a look at some of the supported brokers. We generally recommend Interactive Brokers as the most suitable broker for most folks, both domestically here in the US and throughout the world. Low commissions, good technology, the ability to trade most instrument classes in the same account. subscribing to a strategy, and then of course connecting for live trading. So this is your little SOM or successometer right here. The dashboard is what we're on right now, and we're going to go to discover strategies in just a moment. Move over to the top of the frame here. The first thing is a very powerful search. So you can enter the name of a strategy, you could enter something like a symbol, you could enter even a concept, if you will, or a class of trading styles. So for instance, I just entered volatility, and I could actually look up strategies that trade volatility, and then here all the symbols that have that in the name, all the strategy names that have volatility in the name. So you can see that, and on all the members or trade leaders or members that have volatility in their name. Similarly, I could do a search for something like Apple, AAPL, and I'm going to bring back a list of strategies that are currently trading Apple, and you can see some of the returns for those. So keep in mind, we do our best to let you navigate around using the standard navigation, but a lot of people like to use search, and the search is a powerful way to research strategies and find things on Collective2. Moving over from there, in the upper right-hand corner, we have C2 resources. This is training videos, webinars like the one that you're on right now, supported brokers, supported platforms, symbols and margins if you're a trader, release notes if you want to keep up on things that enhancements, bug fixes, and other changes to the platform, and of course, help. We also have help at the bottom of every screen. You can see that down here. So really quickly, let me just click on supported brokers, because this is often a question that we get asked. Here's a list of our supported brokers. Again, I mentioned Interactive Brokers as the most popular one. We have over 500, well more than 500 accounts now that are collected to Interactive Brokers. And you can see we support a number of other brokers here. Most of them are actually futures and Forex brokers. Futures programs are very popular on Collective2. Okay. Next over here is reviews, forums, and messages. So you can actually message trade leaders. They can message you back. You can message other folks on the platform to form a sense of community. Let me actually just click on reviews to give you a sense of reviews, because that's another way that people like to start discovering strategies. So here's our reviews page. As you can see, it's pretty standard. We use a simple star-based system. It's important to point out that in order to actually write a review of a trading strategy, you have to have subscribed as a live subscriber to that trading strategy for more than 30 days. So this is, in our view, really protects the integrity. You can't do it if you're simulating. You can't do it if you haven't at least subscribed and been a paid subscriber. And as you can see, here are the various reviews of strategies, and we indicate the ones that are new that have just come in today. If you wanted to look at any strategy in more detail, this little icon here is persistent throughout the site, and it shows how you could open the strategy in a new window. All right, so that's reviews. That's a little bit about the frame, and then the final over here on the cog, we have the ability to go to your general account settings, look at your subscriptions and plans, and augment and change, edit your public profile. All right, so let's go back to the dashboard. Remember, we talked about the dashboard. The way to get back to it is by selecting the little circle and icon there. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually just set up a simulated portfolio with 4 strategies in a $500,000 simulation account that we give you. Now, I'll have to admit that this process is a little bit random here. We're showing you strategies that are on the leaderboard. These are all well-performing strategies on a risk-adjusted basis, but this is not really, in my opinion, how you would do your actual research on the strategies that you may want to follow. But it's a down and dirty quick way to just get your simulated portfolio set up, and you can always change it later. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to add that strategy. I'm going to add this strategy. I'll add this one and that one. All right. So we're going to add 4. It's going to go ahead just like a cooking show and sort of cook those up. And it's indicating, as you can see here at the top, that the first thing that's happened is I've allocated about half of the 500,000. Again, I wasn't doing anything too scientific. I didn't really even know the actual model portfolio sizes, but now I do. So I have about half of the value left for me to allocate. This will take about 4 to 5 minutes to start up, so you don't want to sit around here and just wait for it. So let's go ahead and do a more deliberate version of looking at strategies. Before I move on, I'm just going to come over here, again, since it's a small group, and see if we have any questions so far. It looks like we don't. You don't have to, but if you have any, please pop them in. I'll try to address them as we go through the presentation. So now I'm going to shift into Discover mode. This is before you can open a live account, paper trade, or connect to a live account. You're probably going to want to get familiar with the types of trading strategies that are on the system. So I went over on the platform, excuse me. So I came over to Discover Strategies. And I'm taking kind of to the anchor place for discovering strategies, which is called our leaderboard. You'll see that there's a little tour here that you can walk through. I'll actually walk through it really quickly, pointing out that this is the estimate of the minimum capital required to follow the strategy. This is the drawdown. Things that can go up, of course, can go down. The default view of the leaderboard is often sorted by cumulative performance, but it's very important to understand the potential drawdown. You can sort by any column, and this is where you would click to see the strategy details. Okay? All right. So let's go left to right a little bit on the, I turn those off and they still come back. Let's go left to right. It's pretty self-explanatory, hopefully. So you can see the name of the strategy, the manager, a little flag indicating where they are in the world, the monthly subscription fee. The monthly subscription fee is set by the trade leader for access to real-time trades from that strategy. All right, so you can simulate these in your simulation account. That's going to only get you end of day P&L, no open positions, but at least give you a sense of how well that strategy is doing. And we do encourage people to set up a simulated portfolio, which I already did. We'll check back on it in just a moment. And you can see the instruments that the strategy trades. Pretty standard hypothetical thumbnail chart here, starting unit size. Heart attack index is our playful way of indicating the probability that you'll have a heart attack if you follow this strategy. The lower the number, the better. So you can see that these strategies actually have a pretty low heart attack index. They jump up a little bit here. That's also a way of just indicating generally the higher the heart attack index, you'll see the higher the peak to valley drawdown. All right, and then cumulative return since they started. Up here, you can also see that there is a filter. This is an important filter. A lot of people overlook this, so let me make sure I point it out. We're just showing popular instruments, but if you wanted to look at strategies that have a new 52-week high, or if you wanted to find strategies that are IRA-friendly, meaning that they're not doing naked calls or puts, they're only doing stocks, they're not trading futures, and they're long only, something that you could trade in your IRA, you could sort by just IRA friendly. I like to do a sort by something called Trade's Own Strategy. And Trade's Own Strategy means that the strategy manager, the trade leader as we refer to them, is trading their capital live. So that, in other words, they're either following their own strategy with a live account, or they're submitting every signal from their brokerage account, such as Interactive Brokers. So what they do is they go and connect their Interactive Brokers account to Collective2, and then when those signals come in, they're coming from that live account. So that's this little badge that you can see over here, which is called Trade's Own Strategy Status. So let's just go ahead and click on this strategy here. I'm going to open up in a new window, and we're going to go to the strategy details page, and I'll highlight here that this is actually clickable, and you can click on that and you can see the account that they traded at, the scaling percentage that they use, all the signals that have been tracked. So lots of really good detail here. We really pride ourselves as Collective2 on as much transparency as we can. And keep in mind that all of this is completely free. This is a free account I just created. There's no charge to research and look at all of these strategies. Any closed trade in the history of the strategy is available. Some are delayed for a small period of time, but within a week, you're going to see every trade that was closed and that strategy. We'll go back to the strategy overview page in just a little bit. Let's continue to focus on research. So I've done a search and I filtered by Trade's Own Strategy, and I'm still showing all. Now I'm just going to look for Trade's Own strategies that trade futures. So now what I have is a list of strategies that predominantly trade futures and that have this Trade's Own Strategy designation. All right. Now, if we move to the right, the next thing that you can do on the leaderboard that's pretty powerful is you can begin to create a watch list. So what I'm going to do right now is hit this plus sign here for this strategy called VIX Club Short VIX. I'm going to add it to the watch list, and I'm going to add it to the default watch list, which is called My Watch List. All right. Let me add one more. I'm going to add this to my watch list, and I'm going to add this to my watch list. Okay, so I've added 3 strategies to my watch list. Now let's say I want to look at only strategies that trade stocks. And in this case, keep in mind this is not only stocks. You can see that this strategy has also traded options. Occasionally, this strategy that we already added to our watch list trades all the various instruments. So you got to make sure that you look if it's stocks only. So it looks like this strategy here is stocks only. I'm going to add this to my watch list, but in this case, I'm going to create a new watch list, and I'm going to call it stocks only. Okay, so I'm going to call it stocks only and add that to my watch list. All right, so that's using the leaderboard to research finding strategies and adding them to your watch list. In just a little bit, we'll go back and look at our simulation portfolio and talk about how to add them to our simulation portfolio. Before we leave the leaderboard, there are some other more advanced ways to research strategies. I won't spend too much time on these here, but I do encourage you to take a look as you get more familiar with the platform. You can actually switch from the leaderboard view to what we call the grid view. And the grid is a much more powerful way to slice and dice because you have a lot more values and criteria that you can use for filtering. So same sort of concept. I'm looking at all strategies. I have the ability to filter by stocks, futures, or Forex or options, but now I can come in and say, show me a strategy with a starting portfolio capital of this, or a profit factor or Sharpe ratio above 1.5, or annual return with trading costs of at least 15%, or some index that you might want to, or benchmark that you might want to use. So this is very, very powerful. The grid, certainly something that you might want to check out if you want to do a more sophisticated and thorough research. Not that you can't do that with the leaderboard, but most folks use the grid once they want to do additional searches. And then we also have C2 Explorer here. And C2 Explorer, if you happen to be a little bit more technical and you know how to write a query, you could come in here, and here's an example. So you could just write a query and say, show me all of the strategies that trade Facebook. So this is more for more of a developer or someone who's familiar with programming or developing, so not for everybody. So leaderboard first, then the grid, then you move over to C2 Explorer. The portfolio time machine is something that you can also take a look at. It's the ability to build a portfolio of strategies and see how they would have performed had you built that strategy at some point in the past. All right, so let's go back to Discover Strategies. And you'll see that it's defaulting to what I was on, so I'm going to switch it back to the leaderboard. And now I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on an actual strategy page. So we'll go to the strategy page. And this is an overview of the strategy in a lot more detail. So again, at the top, you just have the information. And you can see that this strategy has been trading on Collective2 for about 5 years, if you will. Here's your equity chart. This is all the trades, including estimated commissions and the subscription fee, which in this case is a very reasonable subscription fee of $25 per month. Remember, that's set by the trade leader. So the trade leader set their subscription charge at $25 a month. These values vary from as low as $0 to $200 or $300 a month, depending on what the trade leader sets that at. If you come down here, you can see again all of the details of all the various trades. If you wanted to see more details, you could say show auto trade data. And you can actually go ahead and click on this little icon right here. And I'm not aware of anyone else that does something like this. These are the actual fills at the various investors that we're following. They're anonymized, obviously, but we're showing the fills at each of those brokers for the amount of shares that the investor was filled with, or the follower subscriber. We also have statistics, more statistics than you could probably ever want or go through. The trade leader provides a description of the strategy, and as we mentioned before, you can look at reviews of the strategy here, and you can also get to the reviews up here in the frame. So that's a little overview of the strategy overview page. All right, now let's go back to our dashboard, and we'll see that our simulation account is up and rocking and rolling. Remember, we had selected these strategies somewhat at random when we first got started, but now we have them here on our simulated account. and we're going to get end of day P&L for these strategies. Here's what they happen to be up for today so far, all the positions that are up for today. And we've allocated about half of our $500,000 simulation portfolio. Let's show how we can add more to our simulation. We're going to go over to our watch list. Remember, we created 2 watch lists. This is our stocks only watch list, and we also have the my watch list, which we put a bunch of strategies on. So we have the my watch list strategy here as well, and we have the stocks only strategy watch list. I'm going to go ahead and excuse me, add this strategy to my simulation portfolio, and I do that by clicking this button right here, simulate. What you'll notice is in this case now I have the opportunity to choose a trade allocation or size. This happens to be a pretty large strategy right now in terms of the model capital in it. So it says $370,000. I have about $297,000 left in my simulation account. So if I wanted to allocate, let's say 30% of that to this strategy and turn it on in sim, I'll be allocating 30% of my allocation to that. And if I come back to my simulation account now here, you will see that I'm also starting up and adding this trading volatility, right? So the trading volatility. So here's the 4 that I selected when we got started, and now I've added 1 more here. So I've started to build a portfolio. If we switch over to, no, I don't have the other account open right now. All right, so that's a brief overview of getting started as an investor on Collective2. Let's go over to our SOM and you'll see our startup things. We did add strategies to the watch list, so let me check why that's, maybe I have to log out, but we auto-traded in a simulated account. We did add some strategies to our watch list. So we've done these first 2 steps here, so we're about 40% done. I'm gonna make a quick note to see some add strategies, why we're not getting credit for that. And then finally, investing in auto trading. We're not going to get into that too much here, but this is the area where when you're ready, you can look at supported brokers, go to your control panel and set things up for auto trading. But it all really starts with getting an account opened and funded at one of the supported brokers before you can actually auto trade. All right, let's go back and check out if I have any questions. All right. So if you have a question for me, just pop it in there. I see a few coming in. I'll answer those in just a moment. So, so the first question is, how much does auto trading cost? So the answer is there's 2 components to auto trading. The first is the subscription fee associated with getting real-time access to the strategy. Again, that's set by the trade leader, okay? And those vary. They can be free all the way up to several $100s a month, but let's just say the average is about $100 a month. You pay that subscription fee. Now, you do not have to auto trade. You can simply receive real-time signals and then choose to trade those as you see fit in your own brokerage account. That's what we call manual trading. But the vast majority of investors on Collective2, once they've researched and found trading strategies that they like, they will hook them up for auto trading so they can go about their life. And auto trading involves what's called an auto trade plan. And the auto trade plans start at $49 and they can go up to $299. Depends on the amount of strategies that you want to follow. To follow a single strategy is $49. If you wanted to see pricing, you can come over to collective2.com. And under the pricing tab right here, to get this out of the way, you're going to want to switch over to package plans for investors. And then here you can see the various auto trade plans. I suggest taking a look at some annual discounts because they're pretty compelling. You can get this down to $390 for the entire year. That would allow you to auto trade a strategy for the entire year. So 2 components, an auto trade plan and then the strategy, are what's part of the cost. Okay, any other questions? So question about supported brokers. So the supported brokers is right here under supported brokers, and if you don't see it there, unfortunately this time we don't support it. So Fidelity, Schwab, TD Ameritrade are not supported brokers at this time. We may or may not be able to work with them, but for now, Interactive Brokers is our most popular broker. I'd also point out that we're launching our own broker early next year. Let me give you the URL for that. If you'd like to sign up for early interest, I'm going to drop this in the chat right here, I think. There we go. C2 Broker, you can go to c2broker.com. This will be a commission-free broker, fully commission-free, if you are following a strategy on Collective2. So we think this will be pretty compelling. Saving money on transaction costs is a big component of performance, and also, you can do that elsewhere, but we're all about marrying trade ideas, alpha, edge, and trading strategies with a low or zero cost commission. It's going to be a pretty powerful combination. So you can go over to c2broker.com. Okay, other questions? It looks like that is about it. All right. Let me give you a few more items here in chat. First is help at Collective2 is a great resource if you have any questions about using the platform. Also, how-to.collective2. How-to.collective2 will take you to our support knowledge base and area for everything that's good in terms of articles, videos, instructions on how to do things. And finally, if you just want to contact me directly, I'm Rod at collective2.com. Again, I head our product and I both trade and invest on the platform, so happy to be a resource if you have any questions about the platform or suggestions, feedback, anything like that. It's always good to hear from new folks. Okay, I think that's it. If there's no more questions, really appreciate everybody's time today. Look forward to seeing you on the platform, and that's about it. So just have a good holiday season, Happy New Year, and this is Rod reminding you to always trade like you mean it. Thanks everybody for your time today. Have a good day.